Good morning. Please remain standing as Samantha Peters, a staff member in PSU's School of Art and Design, sings America the Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Seats. Welcome to the Portland State University College of Urban and Public Affairs Graduate Hooding Ceremony. I'm Cy Adler, Associate Dean of the College. With me on the platform are, from your right, Professor Chris Shortell, Chair of Political Science, and playing a critically important role today, our reader of names. Professor Aaron Golub, Director of the Toulon School of Urban Studies and Planning, Professor Birol Yeshilida, Director of the Hatfield School of Government, Professor Stephen Piercy, also Dean of the College of Urban and Public Affairs, Professor Hiroyuki Ito, Chair of the Department of Economics, Professor Chris Henning, Chair of Criminology and Criminal Justice, Professor Masami Nishishiba, Chair of Public Administration, and our 2018 Urban Pioneer Award recipient, Ed Washington. Seated in the front rows are members of our esteemed faculty who have instructed, advised, and mentored our graduates during their time at Portland State. We'd like to begin today's ceremony by acknowledging some of our graduate students who earned deans, Portland State University presidents, and external achievement awards. As I call your name, please stand to be recognized, remain standing, and please hold applause until all the names have been read. Academic achievement by a master's student. Reed Broderson, Master of Urban and Regional Planning. Academic achievement by a doctoral student. Two of these, Ashley Denton, PhD in Public Affairs and Policy, and Carrie Higgins-Dobney, PhD in Urban Studies. University Service Award to a master's student, Laura Lyons, Master of Public Administration. University Service Award for a doctoral student, Andrew Ziguzzi, Public Affairs and Policy. Community Engagement by a doctoral student, Stephanie Hawk, Public Affairs and Policy. And a President's Award for Community Engagement by a master's student, Zoe Flanagan, Master in Public Policy. In addition, Victoria Madison Levy, graduating with a Master in Urban and Regional Planning degree, has been awarded an Enos Center for Transportation Future Leaders Fellowship. And lastly, we have 4 graduating students who have been named National Institute for Transportation and Communities Scholars. These students are Matthew Gray, Michael Harpool, Victoria Madison Levy, and Maria Gabrielle Sipin. Congratulations to all of you. This year we have 2 student speakers who will be representing our graduates. Speaking first will be Maria Sipin, a Master of Urban and Regional Planning student who is also earning a Master of Public Health degree. She's an active transportation scholar at the consultant firm Alta Planning and Design, a communications assistant at PSU's Institute for Sustainable Solutions, and a board member of and consultant to People for Mobility Justice in Los Angeles. Maria.
Nice, a podium just my size. Hello, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to share a few words today on this special occasion. I'm here, like many of you in the room, because someone gave a damn. And maybe not just one person, but several people along the course of our lives. Let's take some time now to recognize them, especially those who showed up for us the past 2 years, or at some point during this academic journey, and not just passively, but as a presence we couldn't deny or function without. Take a moment. I know there's someone here for all of us who comes to mind, because they're probably in the room with us now or in our memory. They might have been that person whose timely gestures brought reassurance or affirmation, even momentarily. They probably shared the snack you didn't know you needed, the email you weren't copied on, the meme worth 1,000 smirks, the 6th document required for a scholarship application, or the $20 cash transfer that kept you from a financial meltdown. My family, my friends, my professors, my mentors, and a community of people of color and women of color on the internet have deposited so much in me, and I couldn't be more grateful. This network has meant everything. This community has helped me thrive in the face of adversity. Moving to Portland hasn't been easy. Having to commute late at night, waiting at the bus stop, having to endure catcalls and racially charged remarks on the bus hasn't been easy. Having to navigate an institution that no one else in my family has ever encountered hasn't been easy. And this network has meant everything. People in my community who cared enough to continue investing in someone they knew was committed to be a steward for justice, like many of you in the room. So we're here today to break down borders and walls, to challenge police violence, and all types of barriers that have existed that kept us away from the community that we all deserve. So I'm grateful to all of you now in this room who I know are not just graduates of Portland State University, but are genuine accomplices to this work. So keep depositing something, not into just yourself, but to people in this room and people who have helped get you here. Because it's gonna take us and people beyond this room to challenge everything that's going on beyond these walls that are keeping us from being the community that we need. Thank you so much, Portland State University, my professors, and everybody in this room who has helped keep me going. I know the work just starts here, and there's so much more ahead of us. Even in adversity, we have joy, and that's something to celebrate. Thank you.
Liz Oberhausen is a Master of Public Administration student who is the program manager of the Gorge Grown Food Network's Food Security Coalition. She also researched and developed recommendations for the Mount Adams Ranger District within the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest to build trust and improve communication and collaboration between the Ranger District and the Yakama Nation, and provided recommendations to build trust and enhance diversity and inclusion to the South Gifford-Pinchot Forest Collaborative. Liz.
Thank you, Dr. Adler. And thank you, Maria. It was one of the great pleasures of getting asked to speak today, to get to know Maria and learn from her a little bit. So something to know about me is that I like to put myself in situations that put me out of my comfort zone. This was a really good thing in the MPA program because over the last several years, the MPA program has put me out of my comfort zone in more ways than anything else in my life. I've gotten to go from studying collaborative governance to practicing it. And one of the most challenging things during this time was my final practicum, which Dr. Adler mentioned. Part of the origin of this project was that I was finding that many people throughout the Columbia River Gorge wanted to reach out and better understand the perspectives of tribes in the area, but they weren't sure if they were the right person to do that or if it was appropriate, and were worried that they might say or do the wrong thing. And in that worry, the moment to reach out or build relationship or learn was lost. So I decided for my final project that I wanted to interview leaders from natural and cultural resource departments of the Yakama Nation to learn about when is the right time to reach out, what did they care about, what's important. And for the first few months of my project, I exhibited those exact same behaviors. I wasn't sure if I was the right person. I wasn't sure if it would be appropriate for me to reach out. And I was kind of in this moment where I'd committed to doing something that I wasn't sure if I could do. In my last term, though, I took an ethics class. In it, the professor presented a unique challenge to be bold and to take risks, even if it didn't work out. During that time, I started experimenting more in my work facilitating the Food Security Coalition, going with what felt real and important rather than what was easy or expected. I've become more willing to fail while trying something new. And a very cool thing about stepping outside of your comfort zone is that your comfort zone itself expands to encompass your new experiences. So it was in this mindset that I finally reached out to a couple of the contacts at the Yakama Nation and asked for interviews. And the message that I received through that was unanimous. They said, don't be afraid to reach out. Be insistent and persistent even, and to always bring a sense of humor. I'm so grateful for the hospitality that was shown me and the wisdom and advice that they were willing to share with me and opening up their world to me. The biggest takeaways for me throughout the project and degree were the value of taking risks and of listening and dialogue. So I've thought a lot about listening the last few months, what it really takes to listen deeply. As part of the project, I also interviewed stakeholders of the Forest Service to learn how to improve trust in the collaborative group that advises the Forest Service. And one of the biggest answers was being willing to listen to the degree that you're willing to change your mind was the greatest thing that could build trust within the group. So I've come to believe that listening to others who are different from ourselves and being willing to act under that expanded understanding of the world is one of the most radical acts we can undertake in a society that is not very good at listening. It's very easy to surround ourselves with people who think like we do, and it takes courage to break this pattern. Listening also requires courage on the part of those being asked to share their honest and open perspective, a gift that can't be taken lightly. Speaking your truth can be a revolutionary act as well. In my experiences over the past few years working with collaborative groups, I've seen that bridges are built in these small acts of courage. When communities don't allow doubts or fears to preclude the opportunity to connect and learn from each other, the results can be transformative. The final lesson I learned through this project and through the process of my degree was the value of community. One of the things that allows you to step outside your comfort zone and take risks in the first place is knowing that your community will be there to support you. I would not have completed this degree without the support of my community, my family, my friends, the professors in this program, my many mentors, and my coworkers who've been very flexible with me the last few weeks. The same is true of everyone graduating today. So while I'm proud of my accomplishments and those of my classmates, I also want to recognize and thank everyone here for the role that they've played in helping us succeed. Thank you to the faculty of the Public Administration Department. It's been a privilege to learn from you, and it will be an honor to carry forward the lessons I learned in this program. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for listening. Congratulations.
And now it's my pleasure to introduce to you the Dean of the College of Urban and Public Affairs, Dr. Stephen Percy.
Good morning, everyone, and what a joyous day of this wonderful celebration of graduation. To all our graduates here today, and the friends and families of our graduates, a heartfelt welcome. Thank you for joining us. On behalf of all the faculty and staff of our College of Urban and Public Affairs, I want to congratulate our graduates, each and every one of you, on completing their graduate degree. Only these graduates know the rigor of graduate education. Obtaining a bachelor's level degree is an important first step in your higher education experience, but completing a graduate degree, master's level or doctoral level, is a really significant achievement, and that can only be earned after persistent and hard study and diligent application of time and energy. So now, today, with the ink on your last paper barely dry, your email outbox full of submitted assignments, and your last exam still fresh in your memory, and maybe even nagging worries, did I really get it all done? This is the time you did get it done. This is the time to stop and reflect and celebrate. These times don't come along, so take a moment, celebrate, look around at your friends and classmates, and savor the moments you worked awfully hard to get here. Student success and graduation touches the hearts of all of us in our college, because your achievement is core to our mission and central to the commitment of our faculty, staff, and administration in the college. We are proud to have had the opportunity to learn with you and prepare you for meaningful professional and academic careers. We wish you well in your new careers, wherever that may take you. I want to call out with strong enthusiasm and appreciation the dedicated faculty of our college. The students sitting here today understand the difference that faculty can make in their lives, in their academic success. At least at an event last week, we celebrated a set of teaching and research awards to our faculty, awards celebrating outstanding contributions. I also want to acknowledge the staff of the college, some of whom who've assisted you as students in the program and who regularly provide high-quality support and service and assistance. I'd like to ask that all of you here today join me in applauding the faculty and the staff of the College of Urban and Public Affairs. I also want to give a heartfelt shout out to the group of CUPA staff who worked on putting this event together diligently for weeks to organize the event to be sure our celebration is seamless and enjoyable and fun. So I want to thank Sarah Violante, who has taken a strong lead here, Kevin Vandehey, Aaron Sutherland, and for your tireless work, and all the staff who are volunteering help today so that we can have a fun celebratory event. Thank you all very much. All of us in the college understand that academic success depends upon the support that is provided by the network of people in the lives of our students. I would like to ask all family and friends of the students who will celebrate to stand here today. So if you're a friend or a family member or associate or a very kind, connected supporter of any of our graduates here, please stand up. We understand in many ways that it's a partnership between our work and your support that allows these students to have such success. So thank you, and thanks for being with us today. So just a few words to our graduating students. I can very honestly say to each of you, at this time in your graduation, at this time in our lives and our communities, we need graduates like you. By we, I mean our communities, our nonprofit organizations, our companies, our neighborhood associations, our local and regional governments, higher education, society as a whole. By many different measures, it is fair to say that we live in a challenging time. Technology is changing faster than we can understand, and we're just learning the good and bad of its impact. We're living in a time of more environmental and weather uncertainty. We know that the benefit economic growth is not even, and we know here in Portland that Portland becoming a popular living location has generated problems of gentrification and unaffordable housing. We know that our task in creating equality and eliminating injustice has only just begun. With this context marked by change, uncertainty, and work yet to do, we need graduates like you to help us capitalize on opportunity and overcome challenges. Also in this time we live, consideration and debates about public policy are more often dogmatic fights about winning one's own policy position than debates that are focused on compromise to find effective solutions that benefit the public at large. We need graduates like you in public service because we need your powerful minds to embrace and apply all that you've learned in your respective graduate programs and apply that and use that in understanding as we create public policy and change and professional practice. Understand the utility of multidisciplinary approaches to exploring policy issues. I know you've had that in your classes. The value of basing decisions on data and evidence. The importance and value of hearing all voices, and the powerful impact that a collaborative spirit can have on crafting policy innovation and effective professional practice. We need graduates like you. Well, I'm sure by now you get my point. Our communities, our society, and the careers you're going to all need graduates like you. You've had the excellent preparation and the background. You've learned application as well as basic knowledge, and you're ready to go, and we really need you. So therefore, I say to you, go forth. We know we can count on you to make our world an even better place, to find new pathways to advance public policy, and to discover strategies to create a more just future. We know you will make us proud. And remember, once a member of the PSU CUPA family, always a member of our family. So stay in touch with us. Let us hear from you. Let us know how you're doing. So on the behalf of all of us in the college, congratulations. This is a time in our program where we are going to present the Nohad A. Toulon Urban Pioneer Award. And it's my very great pleasure as Dean of the College of Urban and Public Affairs to award the Nohad A. Toulon Urban Pioneer Award to Mr. Ed Washington. The Urban yes. The Urban Pioneer Award is the most prestigious community award given annually by the college to a community leader who exhibits the values taught to our students and held dear by our faculty and community partners. These values include public service, civic leadership, insight into the nature of local and regional and urban problems, visionary responses to urban issues, and commitment to Portland as being one of the most vital and thriving urban centers in the nation. I'd like to acknowledge here with us today to celebrate this award are Mr. Washington's two sons, Kevin and Keith, I believe are here. Welcome, we're glad to have you with us. And many colleagues in the Office of Global Diversity and Inclusion are here, including Michael Alexander, the interim vice president, Julie Carone, the Associate Vice President and Title IX Coordinator, Lisa Grady Willis, Director of Diversity and Education and Learning, Yesenia Gutierrez, Director of Affirmative Action and Equal Opportunity, and many other people on the staff there. So thank you for joining us as well and becoming part of the CUPA family. Let me tell you some things about Ed Washington. He was born in Birmingham, Alabama in 1937. I hope it's okay to say the year of your birth. And he moved to Oregon, where his family settled in Vanport. Vanport, as many of you know, has a close connection to PSU itself. This community was hastily constructed for wartime public housing in Multnomah County, Oregon, located between contemporary Portland city boundary and the Columbia River. Vanport construction began in August 1942 to house workers who were working at the wartime Kaiser shipyards. And I did not know it till I was preparing this, I should have, that Vanport, you all got this probably before I did, is a combination of Vancouver and Portland. So I've learned one thing, you're always learning here. So at the time it was created, it had 40,000 people, a large 40% of them being African American. At the time, Vanport was the second largest city in the state of Oregon. After the war, Vanport lost more than half of its population, dropping to 18,500 as many wartime workers left the area. However, there was also an influx of World War II veterans. In order to attract veterans and their families, the Housing Authority of Portland opened the Vanport Extension Center, later became Vanport College. The college enrolled 1,900 students in its first year, and as many of you know, the Vanport College was the very beginnings of this university we're at today, Portland State University. Vanport was dramatically destroyed at 4:05 p.m. on May 30, 1948, when a 200-foot section of the dike holding back the Columbia River collapsed during a flood, killing 15 people. The city was underwater by nightfall, leaving all of its inhabitants homeless. Mr. Washington's family was among those who lost their homes. They understood firsthand how calamity can come out of nowhere and threaten one's life and future. But Mr. Washington was not daunted by that and many other tasks. He continued his schooling, graduated from Grant High School, attended Oregon Health and Sciences University in Portland State. He joined the Portland chapter of the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People in 1956 and served on a committee that ended discriminatory hiring practice among local grocery stores through successful boycott in the campaign. He did this in his early 20s. His commitment to the NAACP demonstrated what would become a lifelong commitment to justice, equality, and civil rights. Mr. Washington has a legacy as a community leader in Portland and a visionary. He became the first African American elected as a Metro Councilor, where he served from 1991 to 2001, joining with others to create policy and legislation to advance life quality in our three-county metropolitan region. In recent years, we've been very lucky because Mr. Washington has been a member of the great team at the Office of Global Diversity and Inclusion. He's been part of the PSU family, and we've been blessed to have his talent among those others working to advance diversity and inclusion on campus. On a more personal note, I want to tell you how much I am impressed by a leader who can show a guiding light while at the same time be so humble. At this time, the combination of humility, caring, and leadership is very appealing. Ed Washington, the College of Urban and Public Affairs, is most pleased to recognize your many contributions to our community through the award of our Urban Pioneer Award. Most heartfelt congratulations. Mr. Washington is going to make some comments.
Good morning, everyone. Dean Percy sort of said some of the things that I was going to talk about this morning, which is okay, but it made my job real easy. So I am going to do a few reflections on my growing up experience in Vanport and a couple of other short scenarios. And I'm so glad that I saw that step there through my bifocals. That would have been tumbling. I would first like to acknowledge Dean Percy, faculty members of the College of Urban and Public Affairs, the graduating class of 2018, staff, including all of my colleagues at the Office of Global Diversity and Inclusion, and they are my family, in addition to my 2 sons. I love them all. Being here today represents one of the high points of my work and educational experiences. It is right up there with my first date and marriage to my wife, Jean Washington, along with the birth of our 2 sons, Keith and Kevin. Jean graduated from Portland State University in 1979, receiving her BA in music, followed by the granting of her Master's of Science in Music in 1985. She taught music in the Portland Public School District for 17 years before passing away from the effects of breast cancer in July of 1998. So in her honor and memory this morning, I was going to try to find one of the pink hoods to honor her, and I couldn't, but I'm wearing this, my pink shirt, in honor of the memory of my wife, Jean. I also wish to recognize my very good friend, Miss Elaine Wong. She is unable to be here today because she is in Dallas, Texas, celebrating the arrival of her first grandchild, a little girl. I researched the meaning of the word pioneer, and my favorite definition is that a pioneer is one who goes before to prepare or open the way for others to follow. I'm going to just share with you a little bit about a couple of things that I was so very fortunate to be a part of. Dean Percy mentioned me being actively with the NAACP and having the opportunity to help open up jobs for African Americans in the 1960s at the supermarkets here. In 1960, there just were not a lot of African Americans working at any of the very good jobs, banks, very few school teachers, bus drivers, you name it. And so the NAACP decided that we were going to try to do something with the supermarkets. And at that time, there were 3 major chains in Portland: Fred Meyer's, Safeway, and Keno's. And as a strategy, Fred Meyer's had let us know very clear that don't bother with them. They would outlast us, and they probably would have. And Safeway was the next largest, but they were also nationwide, so that means you've got to bring everybody in the country together. So we decided that our best strategy was to take on Keno's. Keno's was a local grocery store, and it was the smallest of all the 3. And the other thing is that Keno's had a very large store right smack dab in the African American community. So that was ripe for boycotting, and that is what we used. And when we met with Mr. Keno, and after a period of time, he came around and said that, yes, I can't hire any clerks, but I will hire some bag boys, young men. And so we were very successful in getting 3 young men hired, Harvey Lockett and Al Rivers and Clifford Daniels. And from that, it was a little bit easier. Fred Meyer's opened up, and so did the rest. So that really went well for us. Another interesting story that I had, would like to share briefly with you, but I didn't mention that on anything for Dean Percy, was that finding housing in 1960s for African American was difficult, and getting apartments was also difficult. And when Jean and I got married in 1959, we rented a house for the unbelievable amount of $55 a month. A 3-bedroom house with full cement basement, backyard, and everything. But a couple of years later, we decided to move to an apartment, and I remember we went up to an apartment up on Alberta, right off of Vancouver. And I remember Jean and I went in and talked with the manager, and she was very nice, and she welcomed us in, and after everything was said, I said, how much is the rent? And she said, $80 a month. Well, $80 a month in 1962, I could have lived up in the West Hills for that amount of money. So I just didn't think that was right. And so I told Jean, I said, I just think she's not being fair to us. And so I called on a very good friend of mine, Ralph Cake. He was a young white gentleman. He was an attorney. And I said, Ralph, I said, can you go up there and tell me exactly what it's going to cost? And so he went up and called me back a couple of days later and said, Ed, I got the apartment for $50. And I said, well, let's take her on, Ralph. And so Ralph and I went back a couple of days later, and the apartments, there was sort of a landing and some stairs. So I stayed down below the stairs, and then Ralph went to the door and knocked on the door, and she recognized me. He says, well, I'm here to talk a little bit more about the apartment. And he said, how much did you say the rent was? And she says, $50. He said, that's really interesting. He says, I have a couple of good friends, Gene and Ed Washington, and they were out to see you last week, and you quoted them $80. And she says, oh, I don't remember that. And he said, well, just a minute. He says, Ed. And I was down the bottom. And I came up the stairs. And let me tell you, that is the most wonderful feeling. When you catch somebody in a bad story. And he told her, he says, we're going to report you to the Oregon Bureau of Labor, which we did. And within a week or so, Jean and I moved into the apartments. And it was never any conflict after that. She never said anything to us or tried to make any problems for us. But those are the kinds of things as far as this Pioneer Award. I hope that I have been a good pioneer. And I hope and I know that I will continue being the best pioneer possible. And I just want to say a couple of things about Vanport that Dean Percy would know about because he wasn't there. But Vanport was a very, very interesting place. And I always like to tell a little short story about my growing up experience in Vanport. Vanport was a 24-hour city. I mean, during the shipyards, it was just busy all the time. And it was a great place for kids. And we had lots of fun. And one of the things that we loved to do as kids, there were a lot of garter snakes in Vanport, lots of them. And they were different colors, and to the kids, it wasn't a garter snake. If it was yellow, it was a yellow racer. If it had blue, that's a blue racer, stay away from it. If it's red, that's a red racer. But they were just plain garter snakes. And there were wash houses in Vanport where everybody washed their clothes. And there was a good friend of ours, his name was Lewis, and Lewis said, you know what? He says, snakes, they have legs. And we said, oh, Lewis, snakes don't have legs. He says, yes, they do. And we said, well, how do you make them walk? He said, well, you got to catch them and put them in a bucket of water, and their legs will come out and they'll walk. We caught lots of snakes, 4 or 5 buckets of snakes. Fill the buckets up with water, and the snakes just drowned. But for us, as kids, the fun thing was we took them into the wash house where they had all of those wash tubs, those big old concrete wash tubs, and we poured them in there so that we could hear the ladies when they came in to wash their clothes. So that's one of my Vanport stories, but I would like to say, I have lots more, but I don't have time. But I just want to say and echo what Dean Percy said. Portland State University started in Vanport as a Vanport Extension Center. And I'm so very proud to be a former Vanport resident. And really there are 2 things that was never lost to the Vanport flood. And the first one was the spirit of all those people that survived. And even today, and there's not a lot of us left, but even today, we greet each other like old friends. And the other thing that never died was the spirit of the Vanport Extension Center, which is today's Portland State University. You have a tremendous legacy that you're carrying with you. And so never, never forget the spirit of Vanport or Portland State University. Thank you so very, very much.
A few words about the regalia that our faculty and our graduate students are wearing as we get to the main event. The master's gown has long pointed sleeves, while the doctoral gown is faced with velvet and has bell-shaped sleeves. Candidates for advanced degrees wear an academic hood. A faculty advisor places the hood over the doctoral graduate's head, signifying his or her success in completing the doctoral program, hence the expression hooding. Finally, faculty may wear regalia in the colors of the institution where they attain their highest degrees. And so now for the main event. Reading the names of our degree recipients today is Dr. Chris Shortell, Chair of the Political Science Department in the Hatfield School of Government. So, Chris.
Thank you. I think we'll get started. PhD in Urban Studies, Carrie Higgins Dobney earned PhD in Urban Studies with a dissertation title of Newswork, the impact of corporate newsroom culture on news workers and community reporting. She'll be hooded by Jerry Sussman. PhD in Public Affairs and Policy. Kevin Curry, earning a PhD in Public Affairs and Policy with a dissertation title, Politics in the Social Media Era, the Relationship Between Social Media Use and Political Participation During the 2016 United States Presidential Election, hooded by Chris Shortell. That's me. Christopher Davis, PhD in Public Affairs and Policy, the dissertation title, Modeling the Co-Production of Public Sector Innovation, Strategic Dimensions of Organizational Innovation Within the Public Maritime Ports of the Pacific Northwest, hooded by Craig Shin. Ashley Denton, PhD in Public Affairs and Policy, dissertation title, Building Climate Empire, Power, Authority, and Knowledge Within Pacific Island Climate Change Diplomacy and Governance Networks, hooded by David Kinsella. Andrew Zaguzzi, PhD in Public Affairs and Policy, dissertation title, Exploring District Judges' Decision-Making in the Context of Admitting Expert Testimony, hooded by Chris Shortell. Stephanie Hawk, PhD in Public Affairs and Policy, dissertation title, The Dynamic Returns of Descriptive Representation, a Study of Race, Politics, and Policy in Urban Governments, hooded by Melody Valdini. Sirisak Lauchankan, PhD in Public Affairs and Policy, Dissertation title, The Antecedents of Local Government Service Delivery Under Crisis Conditions, The Case of Konkan Province, Thailand, hooded by Bruce Gilley. Master of Urban Studies, Margaret Greenfield. Lauren Elizabeth Marrow Everett. Michael Harpool. Master of Urban and Regional Planning, Sachi Arakawa. Mary Benedetto. Kara Bowden. Reed Broderson. Taylor Campy. Brandon Crawford. Jennifer Davidson. Sean Edging. Steve Van Eck. Matthew Gray. Ayano Healy, receiving dual degrees in the Master of Urban and Regional Planning and Master of Public Health. Mohammed Hotak. Michael Kimball. Taya Kinshu. Tony Lamb. Victoria Madison Levy. Margaret Raymond. Hector Rodriguez. Stephen Rosen. Thomas Scharf. Danielle Schulte. Leor Schweitzer. Michael Saratella. Tristan Sewell. Maria Sipan. Victor Tran. Mariceli Valencia Aguilar. John Whitman. Nathan White. Rob Zeller. Master of Public Policy, Faith Aiken. Leanne Amuri. Amani Austin. Magda Bejarano. Gabriela Bermudez. Logan Channer. Jordan Cole. Zoe Flanagan. Jill Hymanson. Brandon Naramore. Christian Smith. Taylor Steenblock. Monica Wilson. Master of Science in Economics, Punchanok Chodsawang. MD Rabiul Hassan. Levi Huddleston. Kritika Kumari. Kevin Payne. Junwei Zhang. Master of Science in Criminology and Criminal Justice, Mackenzie Abbey. Daniel Berryman. Christopher Dollar. Molly Harvis. Brandon Johns. Kayla LaBranche. Karma Rose Macias. Leah Reddy. Joanna Shreve. Tanika Cisco. Alexander Thompson. Master of Public Administration, Sarah Allen. Helen Bicon. Sandra Benny. Kelly Cousino. Jeffrey Davis. Ryan Gabriel. Aaron Jensen. Laura Lyons. Brenna Miara Cooch. Ebenezer Mwende. Jesse Nett. Elizabeth Oberhausen. Amelia Reynolds. Ariel Roberts. Joshua Subramanian. Leslie Wilkins. Caitlin Wilkins. Executive Master of Public Administration, Caitlin Alcorn. Donald Allgaier. Nicole Brayman. Kara Hash. Juliet Hyams. Michael Irwin. Sherry Peterson. Ashley Thurstrup. Andrea Valderrama. Luke Vertis. Kaylin Wheeler. That's it.
Graduates, please stand so we can all congratulate you.